Alright, today I'm going to give you guys a whole tour of my entire fish room. I have hundreds of fish and tons of tanks. I'm going to show you every single tank and all the fish I have and what we're keeping and the plans for this fish room. Because this is also my bedroom workstation. But first, we gotta do some maintenance so that the tanks look spotless just for you. As you guys can see, in this tank, we have tons of algae coating the front of the glass, as well as this tank, and we just got a mess on the floor that I'll explain in a bit. Because if you don't know, some of the fish in my fish room had some babies, some of the smallest babies I've ever seen, and they're so cute, and I'm gonna show them to you just in a second. Let's get cleaning first. Alright, we're halfway done with this tank and scraping all the algae, and then I can show you guys all the fish. Alright, all the algae is scraped off this tank. Now I'm going to scrape off this tank, and then I'm going to show you guys each individual tank and what the fish are. Stay tuned. Alright, this tank is now scraped and all algae free, and now we can start going through all the tanks to show you all my fish. Alright, for the first tank, we have a 90-gallon Discus tank. This tank recently just got some new fish in it. As you guys can see, the tank is a bit cloudy just from me scraping all the algae on it. I have quite a bit of Discus in here, and quite a few cardinal tetras as well, and cories, and loaches. Some of the new cories we added are over here. And then we have a lot of the cardinals. And then the loaches tend to hide a lot. We also added some new plants there. And then all these Discus here. But let's go ahead and feed them because that's always the most exciting part. And then I'll show you the rest of the tanks too. Some food in, get them going. I'm spilling a bunch of food. Okay, I just spilled food all over this. It's okay. All the fish are eating. They'll definitely graze on it. I want to make sure that some of the Discus that are smaller get some food because there's some hiding back there and they're definitely spooked from me cleaning the tank. So hopefully they'll start to come out with all the food out here. You can see how beautiful they are and how much they're growing, you know, in all their colors. This guy is just looking amazing. You have some of the reds, the blues, and awesome. I love watching them like all graze together. It just looks super natural in my opinion. And I'm excited to see how this tank progresses because I added a lot of tetras in here. We might add some more in, and we added a lot of catfish. I don't think we're going to be adding any more Discus anytime soon because now the Discus can just grow up and get quite large, and then we might have to upgrade them in the future. But these guys are like the same kind, but they look so different in my opinion. Like one has more blue and one's more orangey. Oh, like see, look at this little yellow guy. He's the brother that wasn't eating too well, and then this one over here is the same type of this little guy, and he's a lot more yellow, and now he's peeking out. And normally he's gotten more comfortable since being added to the tank. This blue guy was recently added as well, but you can see him now starting to graze. There's two more that are hiding back there, and they're definitely more shy than the rest. So maybe they'll come out in a bit. On to the next tank, which actually needs some love. This tank is just giving me a lot of headaches, but we'll see. I'm also gonna feed them. This is my mini predator tank, 65-gallon. The reason it's giving me issues is the barbs seem to have something, or just picking each other off slowly and don't seem to be getting along, like this little guy's tail. Once I start moving all the tanks around, then I'll probably separate him to grow back his little tail, but he's been doing okay and slowly growing it back in his tank. But when you move a fish like that, sometimes they'll get placed on the bottom of the pecking order, and then it might make it worse when they get re-added, you know? So, but for now he's doing well in healing, so I'm not gonna worry too much. Fish in here are doing pretty well. These are tiger barbs, green platinum ones, rosy barbs, blue angels, cories, loaches coming out to eat. And this tank is just a mess because the light on here is like the fluval light or whatever, but I can't figure out what setting to get it that it doesn't grow just tons of algae and the plants don't do well. See, like this whole wall, algae. But for now, until I change the fish or get new fish, just letting it be, not bothering it too much, because I think I'm gonna be selling some of the fish and or adding them. My biggest thing I wanna do is get the lighting correct first before I go ahead and mess with it. I do want to change this tank up dramatically in some way because it's just not doing well like all my other tanks. Now before we go to my largest tank and probably one of my best looking tanks, let's go ahead and do some of the 40 gallons. So in here we have a ton of duckweed which I have to take out eventually, but this is my Pleco breeding tank and guppy breeding tank. And actually this duckweed up here, I think the Plecos it makes them feel safe, so they end up coming out more and breeding more. But you can see there's a male right there. There's some females. We got, those are orange bristlenose plecos. We have a baby up here with like one of the moms just hanging on his tail. Look at that, look at that. But we have a lot of guppies in here breeding. I don't see them, a lot of them out. I also turned off all the air in the tanks so you guys could hear me better, but the fish might get spooked from that. But you can see one of the babies at the front right there on the glass, and then some of the shrimp. We also have white cloud minnows. Those guys are going into the pond. But yeah, that's it for this tank. And don't forget, guys, I'm gonna show you guys the tiniest baby fish I've ever found. But let's go ahead and go over the quarantine, or the 10 gallons that I've had for a while. These guys are getting major changes, and only one of the tanks actually has fish in it, and it's this tank right here. And all the guppies are hiding because I turned off the air. But they're the panda guppies. These are some females sitting up at the front of the tank. And then some of the males are definitely hiding in the back. But definitely scared them by turning the air off. But these tanks were the quarantine tanks. This was another platy tank. All these tanks are changing, and I'm only gonna keep this one end tank, and all these tanks are getting out, and I'm putting a bigger 40-gallon tank, and I think I'm gonna keep something very special and exciting in there. It's not necessarily fish related, but you'll see, because it's just something that will excite me and add to the fish environment. Now let's go to the next 40-gallon tank. This tank needs some work, but that is part of the change with all the 10 gallons down there. So in this tank is a 40-gallon tank where I have some super orange long fin veil angelfish in here, and some petricolas back there, and also some breeding super long fin plecos. And those guys, while I was actually going through that side of the tank and cleaning it out, you know, one of them passed, unfortunately, but I found some babies underneath a coconut hut. So I removed the babies and put them in this little container to help make sure that they raise up. And now look at them. There's so many of them, and they're all wiggly, and they have the little egg yolk sacs, which means they're past the egg stage. So hopefully I can raise them up, and I'll have a ton more. And it's just like so beautiful. I never see them at this size, because normally the dad will release them into the tank and then they either get eaten, they don't make it, you know, like the strongest survive in the tank. But my plan was that to be able to raise them up, and in this side you can see like some of the babies survive, but the holes on this thing are too big, so they just get through. So it's okay. Anyways, they're all in here now, and there's a bunch of little babies, so we'll see how many survive. They have to, like, you know, finish the little orange egg yolk part of their belly. They'll like consume that, and then I can start feeding them, and then we'll see how many there are and how many we can get to like an adult stage. So that's really exciting. This tank, oh, now you can see the guppy over there, the male guppy. Where'd he go? There he is at the top. Now they're coming out. All right, so we're gonna move these guppies over here into this tank to breed with these plecos, and then these orange angelfish, either I'm gonna sell or breed with the catfish in this tank that I'm gonna put over here. And the reason I'm doing all this is so that I have less tanks, less maintenance. The fish are happier because the 10 gallons here are just really hard to maintain. The chemicals and levels fluctuate way too much, that just really hard to sustain in a tank. So we're just gonna do less tanks but bigger tanks so the fish can do better, you know? All right, it is time to show you my last and final tank, and that is the 125-gallon African cichlid tank. So up here is the 125-gallon African cichlid tank. It has yellow labs and Madoka white lips and tons of catfish in here. I made it look very beachy. I added shells and things like that and crushed rock. You can see the catfish all back there. I'm gonna go ahead and feed them so you guys can really see. And you see, look at how excited they're getting. You can see it from the top, maybe. Yeah. All right, we're gonna pour some food in. I definitely pour quite a bit of food because there's a lot of fish in here and a lot of catfish as well. All right, there goes all the food. And now they are coming out, and all the catfish will come out. And this is definitely one of my favorite tanks. The plants in here are just thriving. The fish are doing well. Like they're just breeding a bunch. So there's a bunch of yellow labs, and now I can sell those yellow labs, which I've done in the past. And then the Madokas are slowly growing and have started breeding, but not really of breeding age yet, so it's okay. But the catfish, these are one of my favorite part. My biggest thing is, like, I wonder if they're starting to breed, and that'd be really cool to see, have little baby catfish like them. This guy is like I think, the alpha, because he's like the biggest one, and then he's lighter in color compared to all the other ones. And then that little tiny one is called a petricola. But these guys are, look at him, like he's a stunner. Like look at this catfish. He's so beautiful. Like the silver and like light color. I don't know, only him is like so much lighter than the rest. Definitely an awesome tank. I really want these little guys to breed. These are called Burchardes, albinos, but they haven't done anything yet. All right, that is my fish room update. I hope you enjoy. There's a lot of changes coming, especially down here, because I really want to make sure these fish are doing well and, you know, get some fish that really interest me and things that I enjoy keeping. Oh, I didn't update you guys on the pond. All right, let me show you the pond real quick. Because it's been so cold lately, the pond hasn't changed much. The heater's still in there, and you can't really see the fish because of the duckweed. The duckweed, the goldfish will eat eventually, but for right now, I've just been trying to keep the pond in a nice shape of all the plants. And because it's so cold, the fish aren't really active, so there's not much updates there. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out when I added the Discus to this 90-gallon tank and that fun adventure of how I added 4 new fish. Thank you. Have a great and beautiful day. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.